Hello there, just thought I'd pop on and do a short video and share some more info on the flights of 9/11. In particular, I shall be talking about Flight 77 because that's been a bit of a theme of late with some of the material I've been sharing and research. So I'll just crack on here. Just to let you know, I've put some videos out. These are 4 videos, air traffic control videos. They're just for archive purposes essentially, but you would be surprised what information is actually contained in some of this communications, air traffic control communications, which can piece together some information which may not seem relevant, perhaps for many people, but there's areas of research I'm working on where it actually pieces and answers some questions. For example, in particular, I've been looking into some testimony to do with Michael Woodward and Elizabeth Williams, who were to do with American Airlines, and they actually went down to gate 32 when a phone call allegedly coming from Betty Young and from Amy Sweeney. Now, they said they found an empty plane down at gate 32. Now, a lot of researchers have presumed this to be Flight 11, American Airlines Flight 11, because there's some information to do with the BTS, which is the Bureau of Transportation Statistics, which show that there was no wheels off time in the data, which essentially shows either the flight was cancelled and the flight didn't take off, although there is a discrepancy with an unknown tail number. Now, I've been doing quite a lot of research into this area behind the scenes. I have wrote about this and I've spoke about it in depth on some of the videos, but I'm still gleaning a lot more information. Now, for example, the unknown tail number could be important with a plane linked at gate 26 at Boston, which could have been identified as Flight 11. Now, this could be to do with a lot of the exercises. I've got a lot of testimony and I've got a lot of other evidence to show that a flight took off at gate 26 in Boston, not gate 32, and passengers were seen gathering there at the time. And it's also mentioned in some sources that passengers for Flight 11 were getting on a plane at gate 26. Now, this also could be relevant with some other testimony of Wayne Kirk, who is a cleaner for American Airlines, and he cleaned, or his crew cleaned, Flight 11 at gate 32, I think it was. Now, in his testimony to the FBI he said that it was unusual that there was only like a flight attendant and I think like the captain who were present when he left the plane between 7 o'clock and 7:30, and he thought this was very odd. Now, this is very odd because normally people would be gathering there to do flight attendance, and so his testimony is quite important, which could suspect that the plane that took off at gate 32 perhaps had just some crew members on and pilots and the captain, which was perhaps involved in some type of military exercise, perhaps doing an hijacking simulation. Now, that would make a lot of sense with a lot of evidence that I've gleaned over the last few years, and some of it's official evidence, some of it's come from official sources such as the mainstream, and they still report in the mainstream that Flight 11 took off from gate 26, and I've still got reports of passengers gathering at gate 26, and I also have an eyewitness who's seen Flight 11 coming in from LAX on the morning, and passengers getting off and passengers starting to gather to get that plane. Now, as we know, Flight 11 did not come in from LAX as it normally did. It came in from San Francisco on 9/11. So I've checked out a lot of this with the statistics at the Bureau of Transportation, which is the BTS, and this witness's story seems to add up with what she's seen at, it seems like, at a different gate. So I am piecing all this together to try and put it into a coherent framework for everybody to understand, because it's looking likely that rather than trying to discredit one piece of evidence over another piece of evidence, it's beginning to look like there was duplicate flights happening. Now, I can only conclude from that evidence that somehow perhaps this is to do or related to military exercises that were taking place on 9/11. It wasn't a normal aviation day as we've been led to believe. There was a hell of a lot of military activity going on. We know that they planned Amalgam Virgo 02, which simulated, actual Delta Airlines, and Delta Airlines employees and FBI agents were involved in a simulated hijacking that was to take place in June of 2002. And we also know there was running at least one live fly hijacking simulation either leading up to 9/11 or on 9/11. So I just thought I'd bring you up to speed on all that, and I'm just going to crack on now with some more info which I've been looking into, which is very, very let's say strange to do with these flights. Now, just to clarify, because I know people will be perhaps jumping all over me, thinking that I believe planes hit those targets. I just want to clear this up. I think there's a lot of confusion around the no planes, real planes, remote control planes, and video fakery. Now, I'm trying to sort through all that. So I'm at this present time, I'm sort of in a neutral position. I never used to be, just to update. I used to be quite rigid. I used to think video fakery was involved until I did a lot of research and found out that quite a lot of that stuff, what was put out, was actually, a lot of it was misinformation. And I've wrote a lot about that on my blog, and I've actually shown, and unfortunately, as I said to somebody I had an interaction within the week on the comment section, some of these researchers will not address their errors in their information that they've put out. Now, I can provably show that some of the things they've put out is just, it's wrong or mistaken. What concerns me is that they will not update and correct their work. Now, I'm not comfortable with keep calling people out, and I've come away from that quite a lot over the years. But I still think it's important that a lot of this information is corrected, and it's not. So, but you can find a lot of that in my early blogs. Whether it's about the Michael Hezekiah video, I've done a hell of a lot of research on that, showing that he actually was on the ferry. He wasn't using a tripod. He is a real person, and he sold his footage, and he was actually subjected to a non-disclosure agreement where he couldn't talk about that footage. There's other reasons why perhaps CNN wanted that footage off him, to control the footage. that's another story. So there's more to this than just no planes versus video fakery versus the image projection. It's not about all that. We're trying to sort through the evidence, and we're trying to come as close to the truth as what happened as possible. That's my goal. I don't like calling people out. I have in the past, and it's disappointing that they've not updated or corrected a lot of their mistakes. If, as you've probably seen, I put a blog out about Nicole Miller, and I gathered some information, and I was under the impression that that photo was taken on the 11th of September. As you've probably seen, I've updated that information. That is actually taken on the 10th, because this is what researchers and investigative citizen journalists, you might want to call us, this is what you're meant to do. You're meant to follow up, and you're meant to correct information as you get new information in. Now, that is what I'm attempting to do. So my position sort of a little bit is the planes that we were told didn't go to them targets. I think that's quite conclusive with what I've shown with some of the information. Was videos touched up? I don't think the videographers were lying. I've got a hell of a lot of database on them videographers, which you can see they filmed something that was very profound, which was perhaps done in real time. The laws of physics in some of them videos is questionable, and again, needs addressing. So I'm trying to address that. So I'm not a no-planer. I'm not a video fakery person. I'm not a planer hugger, if you want to call me that. I'm just in the middle trying to sort through all this, because at the moment there's a lot of groupthink to do with you've got to be in this camp, and if you're not in this camp, you're wrong. This operation, and it was an operation on 9/11, was very sophisticatedly done. And as we've seen in the videos from my analysis in them plane videos of 175, with the missing wing, I did a lot of analysis on that, which sort of proves that wasn't really a physical plane, although there could have been something like a delivery system that was projecting something, or it could have been something projecting an image of a plane in real time. So that's where we're at. I've done a lot to do with the radar and ACARS data, and also air traffic control and the military exercises. So there's a lot of information to sort through, and that's what I'm attempting to do. I just wanted to address this because I know some people might think this is a no planes channel, or a plane hugging channel, or a video fakery channel, or hologram channel. I cover all of those things, and that's where I'm at now in my research. So also I'm looking at the passengers, because I get that question a lot, what happened to the passengers, so that's where I'm at. So let's just crack on with this piece of information. Video is going to be longer than I intended, but I thought just to get that explanation out there, because I do get asked a lot about my position, so hopefully I can clarify that. So I just want to look at this here, which was an article I wrote. Now this is to do with Flight 11 and the Bureau of Transportation Statistics database, and they are about discoveries before 9/11. Now, as we know, on 9/11 the BTS data shows that Flight 11 never took off, and the tail number was unknown, which is what I mentioned earlier. Just so to put this into context a little bit, Flight 11, it is in the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. However, it's an unknown tail number for when it flew. So it's not giving us a tail number for previous dates when it flew on July 10th, August 7th, September 4th. They're all known, and they're all from LAX, by the way. As I said, Flight 11 came in from San Francisco on 9/11, which was kind of strange, and I've listed that there. That came in on Flight 98, which was a pendulum flight, and there's also I came into possession or I obtained Betty Young's flight attendant like manifest, and strangely the pendulum flight back for her on that manifest was Flight 12. Was that why she mentioned Flight 12 and Amy Sweeney mentioned Flight 12 in testimony about her phone call, and Betty Young's actual phone call she mentions Flight 12 rather than Flight 98? So there's a lot to get through regarding that. Now, Flight 11 is listed previously in the BTS database. Now, the strange thing is, if we move to Flight 77, which I've been doing a theme about recently, we can see that in the BTS database, it's listed as not taking off. So, wheels off time 0, unknown tail number. It was scheduled to take off at 8:10. Apparently it took off at 8:20, but it's not listed here. And if anybody's seen a video I've done about the discrepancies with the gate, with passengers seen at gate D26 for Flight 77 at Dulles Airport, yet the positional flight data where the plane was parked up showed it at a different gate on the opposite side of the concourse, either gate 19 or 21, which was very, very strange to do with this offset longitude, latitude, which the plane should have been corrected before it took off. So I did a video about that, so if you check back you can find that. But looking at this BTS data here, again on 9/11 Flight 77, it's an unknown tail number, which is very strange, and 8:10 it was meant to take off, but actual departure time is 0. So if we're looking at that information, that's telling us that that plane was either cancelled and it didn't take off. Now, Jeff Hill rang the BTS people up and they said that that's what that meant. So we're going to take that plane with the unknown tail number, which was listed as Flight 77, didn't take off. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more strange, and we'll just look at this here piece of information. So I've just put this into a bit of a PowerPoint. So if we look at the American Airlines, so this is the pre-listings of Flight 77 under the tail number of N644AA. Now, you would think this would show up in flights before 9/11. And what I did find strange in the, which I've mentioned in the Flight 77 on the 11th September, it came up as an unknown tail number with no wheels off time. So that is the strange thing. So what I have found is did find, because I think maybe a lot of this has even disappeared now, but previously to 9/11, that there's no listing for the aircraft with the tail number N644AA as flying out of Washington Dulles, or any other aircraft recorded. So this is extremely strange. We had that for Flight 11, pre-existing data in the BTS, but for Flight 77 there doesn't appear to be any data pre-listed for that flight, and I think it only shows up in the year 2000, before 31st of December 2000 if you go back. So it appears that that flight didn't fly, and I'm talking about the tail number N644AA. That flight, as in the plane aircraft number, did not fly for 9 months. Now that is highly strange. It could be a problem with the data. It could be something else, but that is highly strange. Similarly, with the Flight 11, we was given no tail number as well in pre-listings, although there are listings for 93 and 75. So that's just an area I'm working on at the moment, or have been, that I wanted to share with everybody. Very strange. If anybody wants to jump onto the BTS, I think you'll find that they've removed some of this data from 9/11. I know in the BTS regarding United 93, very strange. They had that plane taking off at actually I think it was 8:28 and not 8:42, as you can hear in the transmissions from the ground control and air traffic control. That plane took off well, apparently 8:42, which is very strange. Why it's listed in the BTS. Now a lot of that data is actually taken from ACARS data and fed through, so it's sort of showing the plane took off earlier than we've been told, 15 minutes earlier perhaps. Now we've also got the same for Flight 175. Now we're told that that took off at 8:14. That's the official narrative, but if you look at the BTS data, it actually says that that plane took off at 8:23, and there's an eyewitness called Stephen Miller, who was a pilot, who was waiting behind United 175, and his plane took off, I think it was at 8:29, and he said he was only 3-4 minutes behind that plane. Now that wouldn't be 8:14, that would be more in the region of 8:23, 8:24, so to his recollection. So again, all very strange. Does this suggest duplicate flights again? Well, if you look at the ACARS data for United 93, we have it over in Champaign, Illinois, which is Chicago area, and that was also seen on radar by Colonel Marr circling around Chicago. This is after the crash. And then we also have air traffic control that were tracking Flight 93 over 15 miles past the crash site. They gave the last lat long coordinates, and also showed up on 65 miles past the crash site, I think it was, flashing over Hagerstown. Now again, that's official information showing that we got 2 Flight 93s there in 2 different locations. So again, do we discount both pieces of evidence? If you're going to go at it logically, you've got 2 pieces of evidence. So that's showing 2 planes. Whether one was a blip to do with the exercises could explain a lot, or was the 2 aircrafts that took off, perhaps the passengers were on one, perhaps the exercises were on another. So we also have the same for United 175. Like I say, that was picked up over Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which is nowhere near New York at the time of when it's meant to have crashed on the ACARS data. And again, it was also picked up on Flight Explorer, which was inadvertently put on MSNBC at 10:25 when they hovered over the Flight Explorer they had on the screen. Twice they hovered over the plane over Connecticut and New York, or flying towards from New York to Connecticut, definitely in that region, and that showed up at 10:25 as Flight 175, still in the air, seemed to be heading back to Boston. There was I didn't pick up any military bases along that corridor back to Boston, which I think would have been about a couple of hundred miles, maybe 150 miles to my memory there. But again, all that's on my blog if you go back into my blog. So again, we got two lots of aircrafts in the sky in two different places. Again, very hard. Do we discount both pieces of evidence, or do we just look at both pieces of evidence and say, look, there's two planes showing up here as the same flight in two different locations? So again, just to finish off, we had the same with Flight 11 and the ELTs, same as 175. Flight 11's ELT, which is an emergency electronic locator transmission, which is when the plane impacts, that is set off, sends off a signal, a beacon, so a plane can be found in its location. Now, Flight 11s went off 2 minutes too early before the impact into the towers. Now, according to the 9/11 Commission and their expert, you cannot activate or manually activate an emergency locator transmitter. Okay, so you can't do that on 767s or 757s, and that's their expert witness for the 9/11 Commission said that. Again, something I've spoken about in the past. Same happened for 175, even worse. The ELT there went off 4 minutes too early before the impact, and how do you explain that? And we've still got the plane over in Harrisburg, which is nowhere near where it crashed. So, and we also had Flight 11 just to finish off. That was on the way to Washington, which can be heard on the NORAD tapes, which I've posted. So we have a lot of strange things going on that we need to address and get through and try and piece together. Again, I suspect these were all part of the military exercises, because we know there was a report that a plane had crashed into the White House, which was sent by the Secret Service at 9:46. They even sent a structural engineers team out to the White House and the fire people, because they said the White House had been hit by a plane and part of it collapsed. This is the Secret Service was on record in this phone call. I've got the fire chief's testimony about this. Actually appeared in one news article, never heard of again. And we know that Nasifani, who was one of the colonels, he actually said when the plane hit the tower, allegedly, that I thought these exercises weren't starting for another hour. Well, was he referring to perhaps something, an exercise at the White House at 9:46 of a flight crashing there? That's something that we can't rule out. So it just seems strange that report came in at 9:46 of a plane crashing into the White House. So again, we'll cover all this as we go on. This video's gone on quite a long time. So yeah, just check out my blog if you can, and scroll through into some of the past blogs I've wrote. There's 10 years worth of blogs on there of analysis to do with things I've spoken about today. And yeah, check out my YouTube channel. Again, I'd like to thank all the new subscribers. I think about 8 in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. So I'd like to welcome you all. Please leave comments. Feedback is welcome. If I don't want to cause any infighting with people. If we can treat each other with respect, your views are welcome. Any suggestions or evidence you find, don't hesitate to leave me a message in the comments and point me in the right direction. I'm welcome to that. I haven't got all the answers. I'm just an average Joe type guy trying to find the truth about this, and I've been at it quite a while, and hopefully one day we can get close to the truth and find out what happened. So I'm going to leave it there. I've gone on quite a long time. Hope it's not too boring. Hope we've laid out a few things for people who are new to my YouTube channel and blog. I have got a BitChute channel, check that out. It's in the link in the description. There's some more videos on there which I can't post on YouTube. And the other thing is, I don't know if some of my videos have been censored because it's highly strange low viewing on some of them, but I'll just go through them while they're on the screen. If people would like to check out, just a quick review here, because I don't know whether some of them have even been seen by very many people, which is very strange. Yeah, I've got 90 people on my blog now, on my YouTube channel. So this is quite a good one to check out here. CNN news report, UA93 flight plan change heading to Reagan National. That's only had 7 views, strangely, but that's something I wrote about as well in my analysis I've done of Flight 93, which you can find in May 2020, I think it was. I wrote that, or February. Interesting how they changed the flight plan. Now that must have been sanctioned and asked for by the pilot, and they really tried to play that down in the 9/11 Commission, which I spoke about in the 9/11 Alchemy film. And we've got here evidence of Flight 93 landing at Reagan National Airport at 10:28. I've also got a good video here about the ACARS for Flight 93, Flight 175. There's a strange report here of a plane crashed in Dayton, Ohio on 9/11. Also, if people would like to check out this about the Michael Hezekiah analysis I've done, this is quite a good video that I've done some years ago, back in October, showing exactly where he was located. I'll put some of the myths to bed on this. Also got one here about the hijacking. Lauren Lyles explained his wife's cell phone call, and it was her number that come up on the cell phone, which he found strange. And there's also one here about an emergency locator transmission over Ann Arbor in Michigan. Now I think this may be related to either flight Delta 89 or Delta 1989. Now Delta 89 isn't that well known flight, and I suspect that was part of the military simulation of a hijacking and a plane crash. And I think it possibly could have been a cover for flight 1989. I have got a blog on that somewhere. I'll have to talk about this in some depth, I think. Got here, none of the families turned up at LAX for flights 1177 or 175. That's reported on the news. Again, that's very interesting. Also, Reagan National Airport was closed for 23 days. Now, this was the only airport closed for that long, which I believe Flight 11 and I know Flight 90, I have evidence Flight 93 landed there at 10:28. So here's another erroneous or some news report saying that Flight U93 originated in Chicago and was on its way to Cleveland. So that's a very, very interesting report that was made there. So yeah, if you can check out some of the past videos, I hope they haven't been shadow banned. This one here shows what I was talking about with Flight 93 flashing over Hagerstown. That's Linda Justice on the air traffic control. I don't think there's any more. Oh yes, there's the United 175 Flight Explorer. That one usually only had 14 views. That shows it flashing over Connecticut at 10:25. Actually reported when they hover over it, so worth checking that out. Again, flight plan change for United 93 reported on Dateline. So yeah, check some of them out, and I will be back soon and try and do some more updates and we'll see where we go with this. Any suggestions welcome. Thanks for your comments, and welcome to all the new subscribers as well. And I'll be back soon. Take care for now all. Bye bye.